I spent a lot of time trying to tell my husband what to do, that I was right. I used to be a teacher. I know this. And I was also the queen of lectures. I was like a college professor at home, lecturing everybody. And this is embarrassing to say, but I actually would follow my husband around and give him lectures about, homework and how important it was. And all of these things that now in retrospect seem very minor, they were big issues in our home.
My guest Faith was having big fights about parenting their blended family when her husband started confiding in a female friend. She decided to experiment with the six intimacy skills, even though her friends told her it wouldn't work. Today, she says her marriage is the best it's ever been, and they are both so in love. She's going to tell us what she did so you can do it too. Faith, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. I'm so
Oh,
excited that you're
thank
here.
you. Thank you. I am excited to be here as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear the whole story. So take us back to the bad old days. What was going on in your marriage?
Well, let me start with we are a blended family. And about 1 month after we got married, we had already had my biological daughter living with us for that 1 month. Then, after that first month of marriage, his daughter also moved in with us. She's 2 years younger than my biological daughter. And so instantly we were a 100% blended family. And that is where all of the problems started. Really trying to navigate having two children who are around the same age, who had now just become instant sisters. And also, I became the queen of control. I was going to absolutely control everything. I have a background in education. I used to be a teacher, and now I am an adult facilitator. So I work in the corporate training world, but I have a lot of friends who are teachers. My mom is a teacher. And so learning is really what I'm surrounded with and what I care about. And so a lot of our issues in those bad old days were surrounding parenting, but also more specifically education and how important education was to me. And I really tried to control everyone and everything that happened in the house. And I spent a lot of time trying to tell my husband what to do, that I was right. I used to be a teacher. I know this. And I was also the queen of lectures. I was like a college professor at home, lecturing everybody. And this is embarrassing to say, but I actually would follow my husband around and give him lectures about, homework and how important it was. And all of these things that now in retrospect seem very minor, they were big issues in our home.
I love it. So this is your area of expertise. You know about education and probably some child development stuff. You studied this. And also, when you first got married, it was you and your daughter. So you were the mom. So you already know how best to raise her, right? You had all that familiarity and experience with her. And then it sounds like was it a surprise that his daughter moved in with you guys too? Or
It,
was
it
that?
was a bit of a surprise when we got married. It was going to be weekends only that she would be coming, and then we kind of switched, unexpectedly. And her mom is still in her life, and she still sees her on the weekends, but it became her living with us full time.
Well, and just saying the phrase blended family, it comes with a lot of challenges already, right? There's just a lot of, old traditions and things that you're blending and different opinions about how everything should go. And I just adore that you shared with us about what you did about following him around and giving him the lectures because I did that's what I used to do too. So I could just relate to you so much. And so it's just fun to hear. Yeah, that's such a vulnerable thing to share. But anyway, I just love it. So so this was affecting your marriage, it sounds like. Things were
Oh, absolutely. And at first, I really didn't know that it was affecting my marriage. I was so far on everyone else's paper in my house that I didn't even notice that my marriage was breaking down. He noticed because he actually suggested that we go to marriage counseling.
oh,
And I thought, oh, this is great. Now he'll find out from the marriage counselor that I'm right. And
yeah,
so I literally went there thinking that
I
a
love it.
trained professional would tell him all of the things that I had been trying to tell him.
She was going to break through to him somehow and just make sure he got the information you've been lecturing him about, right? This is what I thought was my fantasy too. I thought this is really going to be great. But is that what happened when you went to marriage counseling?
Oh no,
Oh,
not
okay.
at all. We actually broke even further down, and I was still not noticing. But now I can look back and see what marriage counseling was. It really was all about me and my feelings. He didn't really even have much of an opportunity to say his feelings. I remember that our marriage counselor told him that he should tell me thank you every day and appreciate me more. But I wasn't given that instruction. I didn't have
Oh,
to say thank you. So it was really kind of weird that he was told to do that. And there were sessions because we did this for probably about 8 months, and there were sessions that he just walked out. And I thought he was so mean and horrible. Like he just left.
oh, like he's given up on the marriage, really, right? If
Yeah,
he's going to walk out of marriage
absolutely.
counseling.
He really just didn't want to hear it, and now I can look back at it and say, well, I was really just complaining the whole hour. And so he would walk out from time to time, and
To just get
even
a
the
little
marriage
complaint break.
counselor
Yeah.
thought, wow, he left.
Yeah, right. Kind of dramatic. Like we could
Yes.
definitely make a case like he just is not being a good husband. He's not even trying. He's never going to change. He's bad and wrong, right? For doing that. Yeah. Well, okay. So, marriage is not really getting better, it sounds like, in marriage
No, and
counseling.
then we ended up stopping the marriage counseling, and again, I wasn't really noticing what was going on, but eventually I did start to notice that he was avoiding me, like he'd come in the house from work and run to the basement and he'd stay in the basement until it was time to go to sleep. And we did have something that we both committed to before we got married, that we would always sleep in the same bed every night. And so he did keep that commitment, but he'd literally wait until I had fallen asleep to make it to the bedroom. He wasn't speaking, when he came in the house, he wouldn't even say hello. He just ran. I just have this image in my head now of how he was avoiding me. And eventually, not only was he avoiding me, but he was talking on the phone all the time. So in the morning, when he would wake up and, get ready for work, then he'd get on the phone until it was time for him to leave for work. He'd be on the phone when he got home from work. And he had this friend who he grew up with, a childhood friend, and she lives in a different state. And when we got married, I had no issues with him speaking to her from time to time. And because I was so busy controlling everything, I didn't even notice how often they were speaking. But it did get to a point where I noticed it because there was no more speaking to me. He was speaking to her.
Oh, ouch. Gosh. I mean, it's painful enough. You noticed he was avoiding you and just run into the basement. It's such a lonely feeling, right? It's such a disappointment. We think, I'm married. We're married. Like we did this so we could be together, be companions. But then not only is he avoiding you, but now he's also talking to her. Just, that must just been very hurtful.
Oh yes, it was very very hurtful, and it prompted me to do something that I shouldn't have done, which was I looked at our phone records and I was able to see that they were on the phone for most of the day. Like while he was at work, he had his headphones in and he was talking to her. And
Oh,
so I noticed how much the conversation was, which also prompted me to do something else that wasn't really the right decision. I texted her, and at the time I thought that it was a very respectful text, but I told her, to stop talking to my husband and to focus on her own husband. So I don't know if that was super respectful, but it was written very nicely. And she called me, and my husband was sitting there when she called me, and I had the phone on speakerphone. And Laura, I have never been spoken to the way that this woman spoke to me. She really ripped me apart and called me every name in the book that is degrading. And that moment, I looked over at him because he was able to hear everything. And I said, "Are you going to stand up for me?" And he quietly left the room.
oh.
Yes.
So the answer is no. I'm gonna
No.
just sneak away. I'm just gonna like climb out the window if I have to get away from
Yes.
this
Yes.
situation. Oh my gosh. So this is you're getting a very sinking feeling at this point. I mean, were you suspicious that this friendship had turned a corner into inappropriate?
In that moment, I was certainly suspicious that it was inappropriate, and even more than suspicious, in my own mind, I was absolutely sure that it had turned inappropriate just by the amount of time that they
Time.
were spending on the phone. And I, even in that moment, wasn't sure if I still wanted to be married to him. The
Yeah.
thing that was even most hurtful to me was the way he didn't stand up for me. And I had actually told him when we were married that that's a deal breaker for me, a husband who doesn't stand up for me. So in my mind, he broke, a deal breaker.
Oh, wow. So this is a moment where you're actually thinking this marriage is not probably not going to work out. Like I'm going
Yes.
to have to. Were you thinking that you were you contemplating getting a divorce yourself? Like you'd file for divorce or?
Well, I thought that it might go that way, but my initial reaction was to tell him that he needed to find another place in the house to sleep. And I
Ooh.
didn't really know what was going to happen after that, but I just said, find another place in the house to sleep. I need some space. And then I guess that was the breakdown before the breakthrough.
Whoa. Okay, so you are devastated at this point. Like you are thinking you've asked him to leave your bed, which is another commitment you guys made
Yes.
before. So you feel like there's been one big blow to your marriage, and now you ask him to, and this was a big breakdown, and you're saying it was also a breakthrough. How is that possible?
Well, um, I'll backtrack a little bit. I had actually come across your book about a year before. So I think we were still in marriage counseling at the point that um, I have a great group of friends, and we all stand for marriage.
Hmm.
And we had a book club, and I was invited to be a part of the book club. And we had one of our friends who was really kind of leading the book club, and she was, all about your skills. We read the book together, and honestly, at that time, I didn't receive the book very well. And it's not that I was against it. It's just I was just going to do things my own way. So, like, when
You
you
didn't need
talked
it.
about
Didn't,
staying on
yeah.
your own paper, I just put everything on my paper. So I'm like, yeah, my husband is on my paper. My
My kids are on my
my
paper.
kids
Yeah,
are on
yeah,
my
yeah.
paper, so I'm fine. I'm on my own paper.
And so is everyone else. Right. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Yeah, it was you weren't ready for right, not the way you became ready, it
I
sounds like.
wasn't ready then. And, there were small little things that we would do here and there together in the book club. But, I just didn't understand it the way that I did during this breakdown. So when I told him to go to the other room, I still hadn't thought about the book yet. But naturally, I started doing self care. And it was because of what this woman had said to me. I said, no one will ever be able to make me feel the way that she made me feel. I have to love myself. So I started dressing up and, feeling beautiful and listening to music. And all this time, he and I, we weren't speaking, we were just on a hello and goodbye basis. But I saw him noticing me. I saw him, noticing me dancing around the house. I just made myself happy. And I started finding things that I was interested in. I went back to drawing and writing, hanging with my friends. And, I saw that, oh, wow, he's noticing. And after about 3 weeks of this going on, I realized that, I do want my marriage. I do love my husband. And that is what made me think back to the skills. Oh, that book that we did in the book club. Let me read that again. And so I read that, and I said, oh, wow, I've already done the first step. I did self care. I'm doing so good with this. And I felt ridiculously happy during this time. And, one of the saddest and hardest times of my life, I actually felt happy. I made myself happy. And that's when I realized that I don't depend on anyone for my happiness.
Wow, I have chills hearing that. Amazing. I'm looking at you right now and you're dressed beautifully right now, right? You've got really cool
Thank
earrings
you.
on and a pretty sweater and just a big smile. And you just look great. And so it's like, and this is something that you started paying more attention to while you were in the most heartbreaking pain of your life. So,
Yes.
so it almost seems like that wouldn't be possible, right? To be so happy when you're also so sad.
Well, I certainly thought that it wouldn't be possible. And, if you had told me to do self care, actually, when I was in the book club, that's the thing that I was fighting against, with the other ladies in the group. I'm like, self care, I don't have time for that. I have kids, I have to take care of them. And
Right.
so I thought that it certainly wouldn't be something that I needed. But when I started to care about myself, and, I became the woman that I know that I am during that time,
Oh,
I video documented, like I have a photo album in my phone where I documented like things that I was doing to make me happy. And I was really figuring out what made me happy because I didn't know anymore. I had been so much on everybody else's paper, I didn't even know what made me happy. So it is kind of interesting that during that time, I got happy.
I mean, I love it. And he was noticing. So even though you were in a little bit of a cold war, it sounds like just high and by, but you might also kind of catch him looking at you, or I don't know.
Absolutely. Yes. I saw all the looks. We have a Ring camera, and this is so funny, but he always looks at his phone to see like what's going on in the Ring camera. And so I would make sure that when I was leaving the house, I'm dancing and, listening to my music. And I just know that he was looking at me in that Ring camera. And when we were home, he moved to the room, our home office. He moved there, and as soon as you walk in the door, that is like the first place that you come to. So it's like he could actually see me when I walked in the door every day, and he was just always looking at me, and I could actually feel him moving towards me. Like if we did have a conversation about something, there was this physical movement that I could feel from him, as if he was now like, like wanting me. This is the same person that was running to get away from me, but I could feel this energy between us.
Like a
That was,
magnet. You were a magnet.
yeah,
Wow. And that's the opposite of him running to the basement to avoid you.
absolutely.
Something's different here. Okay, so I love it. So you were doing some self-care, lots of self-care, it sounds like, and making yourself ridiculously happy. And he was noticing, and you were noticing him noticing, and he was probably noticing you noticing him noticing. And and that's a fun place to be. But what else did you do differently than what you had been doing?
So when I decided that I wanted my marriage, and there were 3 weeks of this Cold War that was really warming up towards the end. That Cold War wasn't so cold as it was in the beginning. I went back and I read your book again, and I started listening to your podcast, and I realized the next thing I should do is apologize. And so I went to him and I gave him an apology, and he apologized also, and we hugged. And from then on, he came back into the bedroom. And I said, whoa, this is kind of working. So let me just do all these things. And so the next thing that I did was gratitude. I started thanking him daily. And a funny thing happened with saying thank you.
Oh,
He actually started mirroring me and thanking me, and he ended up that he now he thanks me way more than I thank him. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I gotta thank him some more, because he's so gracious, and he's always
oh,
saying thank you.
you sound so sweet. That sounds, but and this is what the therapist told him to do, the marriage counselor,
Yes,
right?
yes.
He's finally
And
doing it.
yeah, he's doing it. And when the therapist told him to do it, I could feel that it was not genuine.
Oh, he did say it, but it didn't feel the same way.
Oh no, not at all. But now it's totally feels very genuine. It's not just an exercise that he's doing. And I started to realize how many things I have to be thankful for when it comes to my husband. And just in general, I'm overly grateful for the life that I have now.
Wow. So now you guys just argue about who's more grateful, it sounds like,
Yes.
which is
We are always saying thank you now. it is
oh,
it is a part of the culture of our home.
wow. That's amazing. And I give you all the credit. I give the marriage counselor no credit for that. I give you all the credit for that because it sounds like you created that culture by going first and just counting your blessings.
Yes,
Mm,
yes.
love that.
And then the hardest thing to do, but I would say where it's really made the biggest impact on my marriage was relinquishing control, getting off of his paper. And when I tell you that I was so far on this man's paper, It would be like if we were sitting in a classroom and the teacher didn't even give me a paper. I'm just sitting next to him with his. That's how far on his paper.
You're,
And so I really had to get off of there and get on my own paper. And, that self care helped me to find out the things that were on my paper. And so I started with using a whole lot of duct tape and listening, saying, I hear you. And I noticed that my husband started to open up to me and talk to me so much more. And he wants to spend all of his time with me because I've finally created emotional safety in our home. And so he can relax and know that I'm not going to tell him what to do. I'm not going to give him advice. I'm just going to listen.
so you've become this terrific listener, it sounds like.
Yeah, and this is so funny because as a part of my job, one of the classes that I teach is listening.
Oh,
Yeah, and he used to say all the time, I wasn't hearing him or paying attention, but he always said to me, you teach the class on listening. Why can't you listen?
oh, ouch. Oh my gosh. Well, I relate to this so much. Like if I'm telling my husband how to drive or something, like on my way to tell other women to stop telling their husbands how to drive, it's like, oh, I teach this, but take my advice. I won't be needing it kind of thing, right? So, I love that. But I just relate to you so much. So, okay, so you're listening and now he's opening up to you and when you'd apologize. Oh, what did you apologize for when you apologized, by the way?
I apologized for trying to control everything about our family.
Wow. That's a big apology. So,
Yes.
and then he apologized to you too. So it really made a soft place for the two of you to connect again, it sounds like.
Yes.
Wow. Beautiful. And I mean, did it feel weird to apologize when he's the one that was spending all this time talking to the friend and he didn't stand up for you and she dressed you down and
At that time, it didn't feel weird because I think it would have felt weird if I did it in the beginning before I did all that self care for 3 weeks. But during that time, I was really becoming a new woman and finding out so many things about where I contributed to this breakdown. I did this. So I really wanted to. At that time, I wanted to apologize.
you did this? You created this breakdown?
I did. I did.
Wait,
And
okay.
and I'm so grateful now that I can see this because I spent my whole marriage thinking that I was right about everything, and if he just listened, the marriage counselor will make him listen. Eventually he'll realize that I'm right, and when he realizes that, our marriage is going to be better. I spent so much time thinking that I was right, but also I had wanted to control everything down to, there's an example of, just to show you like some of the little things that we would argue about. One day he wanted to surprise the kids and he put a donut in their lunch that I made. So I made the lunch first and then he went back and added a donut. And I thought that this was the worst thing. First of all, I used to be a teacher. I said this all the time, how I used to be a teacher. And I said, teachers don't like it when you send sugary snacks to school. The kids are going to be, acting, very wild if you give them that. And so don't do that. Don't put sugary snacks. And I was really the protester for all teachers. I just wanted to make sure that we were taken care of. So I would always tell him things like that, or we have to spend so much time on homework. Teachers know the parents who are not helping their kids at home. And so there was just so much control, and I know everything, and there was a lot of arrogance also. And I didn't even know that I was arrogant about that particular subject, but now looking back, I was pretty arrogant. I thought I knew everything, and I was just trying to tell him and help him to be like me.
Huh. Yeah. Well, and it's understandable. I mean, of course, as a mom, you want the teacher to think, well, these kids come from a good family, right? These are
Mhm.
conscientious parents who are doing the right things, not sending the kids with sugary snacks and having them act wild, or that they're sitting down and doing the homework with them. And see, that's what you wanted to make a certain impression with your family.
Yes.
And and but I love, I mean, you're so accountable. I just love the way you describe, like, yeah, I was just sitting at his desk with him looking at his paper. I didn't even have a paper. I love how you're just so cute about saying and saying I created this breakdown by being arrogant. I mean, somebody else could look at your situation and say, oh no, he was spending too much time with that other woman, and he wasn't really showing up to be the kind of dad and stepdad that he should. And that you shouldn't be putting up with that. Right?
Well, when I look back at it, she was probably giving him the respect that he wasn't getting at home. And if respect is like oxygen, I really understand now that my husband had to breathe. He needed someone to vent to and take a breath because I wasn't giving him that opportunity. If he said one word, I was all over it and, correcting him and redirecting him. So he needed to breathe.
Wow. That's it's such a generous, loving perspective, such a forgiving perspective. I just don't hear any resentment or I mean, were you resentful?
Um, I started out resentful when I told him to move to another room, but as soon as that self-care started, which was like the next day after I made him go into another room, the resentment started to fade day by day. And when I found your book again, oh my goodness, I was really able to let go of all of the resentment that I had. And I came more from a place of understanding and understanding that, my husband, he's always been a great guy. And in that moment, he needed to breathe. That's all.
Wow. Beautiful. I mean, that's such a forgiving perspective. And it sounds like it's really this is really working for you. I mean, what is your marriage like now?
Oh my goodness. My marriage is absolutely wonderful. It's everything that I could have ever dreamed of. We spend all of our time together. And just like I felt when I was going through the self-care, I felt like there was this energy between us where he was moving towards me. I feel that every day now. Every day he's like a magnet to me, and he's constantly asking me to be around him and watch movies with him and hang out with him. And it's just become this shift where originally it was me chasing him around the house, telling him what to do and giving him these lectures, and now it's him chasing me. So it's really a beautiful transition that we've made.
That is a beautiful transition. It sounds like you feel really desired now.
I do. I do. I feel so desired.
I love it. I love it. And it must have been painful though to the part where you say, I did this, I made this breakdown. I mean, that's a rough moment, isn't it? Very painful moment.
I think it was more painful in the moment,
Okay.
but
To have the
now
breakdown. Oh yeah.
I
Okay.
am very grateful for that happening. I don't think I would have ever realized that he was drifting away if that wouldn't have happened.
Okay. So that was not that pain served a real purpose, it sounds like. It wasn't needless.
Absolutely, yes.
Wow. Okay, incredible. So, okay, and so he's responded to all this by just pursuing you more, wanting to be all around you, wanting to talk to you. Has he changed at all? I mean, how often is he talking to this friend and that kind of thing?
Well, I really don't know if he's talking to the friend. I do know that we spend a ridiculously crazy amount of time together, and like he's calling me on his way to work and on his way home from work, and he'll call me at work while he's at work and say, "Oh, I haven't talked to you today," and he's rushing home to get home to hang out with me. I haven't asked about her. I haven't given her any oxygen, but I don't know how much time he has
Oh,
to spend with her
that's
now.
that's true. So, and I kind of hear you don't care. It sounds like that's not really on your paper.
No, I actually don't care at all because I trust my husband, and I know that the relationship that we have, I'm finally happy and secure in that. So if he does talk to her, I'm not worried at all.
Wow, amazing. I love that. That's so great, Faith. What about your two daughters now, your blended family? How's that going? Because that was a pain point too.
Well, it's going much better because I decided that my daughter is on my paper and his daughter is on his paper. And when he needs advice from me or help from me, I'm certainly willing to give it. However, he's a capable parent and he's doing an awesome job as a parent. And for us, it works so much better with, her being on his paper.
Okay, gotcha. So it sounds like you're just able to trust him in that regard uh, a lot more than you used to. I mean, what if he tries to put donuts in the lunch boxes again or something? Like, then what would
He
happen?
has done that.
Oh, he has done that.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was a candy bar. It was a candy
Oh, he
bar
gave him candy bars.
recently.
Okay. Okay. And what did you do? You just
Nothing. I
not
didn't say a word. I
they
duct
both got
tape.
candy bars. Kind of fun for them, right? They got some candy bars. But that was just not worth the cost, it sounds like, to,
Absolutely not worth the cost of the intimacy in our house. I felt some sort of feeling about it for about 2 minutes. I kept my mouth closed, and the next minute, he and I were laughing about something else. So, the intimacy was immediately restored.
wow, it's just almost never left, it sounds like. So
Yeah,
you were just willing to trust him. Yeah, he's a good man. And yeah, you have a mother and a father for a reason, perhaps. Yeah. And your father's job to sneak you candy bars and donuts, but your mother's job to get stuff some vegetables into you probably once you get the chance,
exactly.
right? Okay. Okay, cool. That's a pretty cute story. So, all right. So, I mean, it sounds pretty great at your house. Are there still pain points? Are there still areas where you feel like, okay, well, I've still got to figure this one out, or I mean, do conflicts still come up rather? And
We actually have not had a conflict since I started the skills. Our last conflict was the breakdown before the breakthrough. There hasn't been any conflict. There have been times where, I actually look at things and see that in the bad old days, that would have been a blow up. That today, it's not a blow up at all. And when
wow.
I went into the skills, I remember thinking, oh, I'm going to be saying ouch all of the time because he's so mean. I don't know why I thought that. And since this time that I started the skills, I've only said ouch once.
Once.
And it wasn't even a big deal of why I said ouch. He said to me, you don't have to text me thank you every day for something. And, he was just saying, like, you don't really have to send it in a text. We're telling each other thank you at home. And I said, ouch. That was my only opportunity so far to say it. But something really interesting happened there when I said, ouch. He said, what? What? Ouch. I said, yeah, ouch. And then I walked away. And he actually followed me. He said, wait, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I was
Oh,
just saying that you don't have to, like take the time out of your day to type that. And what I realized is, again, I used to follow him around, begging him to listen and understand my feelings about things. And with this, here he was chasing me to make sure that my feelings were okay.
love it. Yeah. Hallelujah, right? Like this is what I always wanted.
Yes,
It's exciting. It's exciting, right?
very
Doesn't it feel
exciting.
like a superpower a little bit?
It does. It does feel like I have a superpower, and I never realized that being silent, because I talk so much. I think my
Yeah.
husband told me I talk a lot, so I never realized that being silent, especially when there's you know a time where I think I need to give my advice or my opinion, that being silent actually gets me what I want way more than trying to tell him what to do.
Wow. So he's kind of already thinking about how to make you happy, it sounds like.
Oh, yes, yes. I'd say the one skill that I was really afraid of was stating my desires, mostly because I didn't even know what I wanted. I didn't know.
Oh,
So I did try, I've had plenty of desires now that he has fulfilled, but two little quick ones, one little, one very big. One was I really tried it out where I said, I would love a cocktail. We were just sitting watching TV, and he jumped up and went and made
oh my
made me a
gosh.
cocktail.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
I was like, oh wow, okay, that works. And then the other, I didn't state this as a desire consciously. I just was talking out loud, I think, and I said, I'd love a white Jeep. And my husband had back in the bad old days, said that I really didn't need to get a new car. My everything was fine with my car, and we needed to wait and all of this. So when I stated that, I didn't have any expectations. I already knew what he thought about it. Well, just the other week, he called me. He was at the car dealership, and he said, hey, I found your white Jeep.
No. He
Yes.
he was at a dealership finding your new car because it was
Yes,
what
and
you
I
were.
didn't know this, but he had been researching it since the time that I said that. He had been
Oh
looking
my
for a good deal. Yeah.
gosh. Unbelievable. This is like you got a magic wand and you can just wave it
Yes,
now. It sounds too good to be true. This is true? This is your life now.
this is my life, and it does feel too good to be
To
true.
be true. Wow. Okay, love that. Now,
Mhm.
how has this impacted your those two little girls that you're raising?
Well, I'm working on the skills with them as well. And I realized, I was all over their paper too, and giving them the lectures, long, long lectures I would give them. And I always thought I was being motivational, but no one was really being motivated. So I don't know why I thought that. So now I have been stating my desires for them. I would really love a clean house. And I noticed that my girls come to me like, hey, I cleaned my room today.
Wow.
Because they want to make me happy.
They do? They want to make you happy also.
Yes.
I mean, you found the keys, right, to everything. So, and it sounds like this feels better for you too, to just say, I would love a clean house than to do. Do you ever feel like though that lectures just has to come out? Do you ever just feel like, you know what, I've got a lot to say right here. This lecture's bubbling up inside of me. I need to say it.
Laura, I think I've said so much over the years that I'm ready to be quiet. I'm enjoying being quiet,
You
I
are.
write this stuff down every day. I write down, you know, all of the things that are happening at home because I love journaling, and I'm noticing that silence is getting me what I want so much more. So yeah, I'm okay with being silent now.
It doesn't feel like you've lost your right to say your opinion or have a voice.
I feel like I have more of a voice,
More
and
of a voice.
yes, and I am finally the woman that I always knew that I was.
Like your best self.
Yes.
You are the best faith that you can be.
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay, I love it. Well, that sounds super inspiring, first of all. What do you think you would say to Faith if you could go back in time and tell her what you know now?
Well, I would say you will win the meet. And I'll explain what that means. When I was in high school, I ran on the track team, and I was a really bad runner. I wasn't good at it at all, but the coach allowed me to be on the team. And I remember that we had this big track meet against our rival school, and I wasn't scheduled to run in that because, of course, I was the worst runner on the team. Um, well, when we got to the last race, which in track, if you know, the most exciting race and last race is the 4x4 relay. Um, one of the girls on the team got sick, and my coach told me that I needed to step in. And I really couldn't understand why he chose me. I mean, I guess everybody else on the team was tired, but I thought, oh, this is the worst decision ever. But I did it. I did it. I overcame my fears, and I ran, and I was the fourth leg, which is the last person on the relay team to race to run. And so when I got the baton, we had a pretty good lead, and then oh, it was so devastating to see when I got the baton. One by one, everybody on the track passed me, and I lost that race, and I crossed the finish line crying, and my coach was smiling. I couldn't understand why. And I asked him, why are you happy? And he said, because we won the meet. And he told me that all I had to do was overcome my fear and step up. And I feel like that is such a metaphor for my life today, that I have lost a lot of races. But I suited up and got on this track of using these skills, and I'm winning. I'm winning the meet. I'm so excited. And I finally feel like it's not just loss, that there's all winning from here on out.
Oh my gosh, that is so moving. That just choked me right up to hear how you're winning the meet. You've won the meet.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want that? Yeah, success. You're enjoying success. And it's just so fun to see it. What is your tip for somebody who it feels kind of stuck where you were? Like maybe the blended family thing feels really challenging. They can't get on the same page about it, and her husband's avoiding her. He's talking to somebody else a lot more than her. And she wants what you have now, where you're ridiculously happy, and your husband and you fight about who's more grateful, and he's just like, well, just desires you and just can't, he just following you all around and calling you all the time. What's your best tip? What should she do?
Well, I actually have two tips. And the first one would be, as a recovering control addict, to another control addict, I would say that there is one thing we get to still control. We control the temperature in our house. So think about the temperature. Do you want it to be really cold where no one is speaking to each other, or really hot where we're at each other's throats all the time? I think the temperature that you would really want is a comfortable temperature where everybody thrives, everybody is happy. And guess what? You get to control the temperature by controlling you.
That's great. I love it. That is a great tip. You still get to be in control of something, and it's the temperature in your house. I
Yes.
love it.
And the
Cool.
other one is, I mentioned that I'm a recovering control addict. And my father was in Alcoholics Anonymous. He still is. He's been in that for 37 years. And he calls himself a recovering alcoholic, even though he hasn't taken a drink in 37 years. And the reason that he uses that language is so that he will not forget and say, oh, yeah, I'm cured, so now I can take a drink. No, I'm always in recovery. And I feel that way about these skills. So I'll steal this from Alcoholics Anonymous. In the meetings, we chant something, because I've gone to a lot of meetings with my dad, and we chant at the end, keep coming back. It works if you work it. And so I would say to the woman who is sitting where I used to be, keep coming back to the skills every single day. If it means talking to a coach, listening to the podcast, reading another portion of the book, writing down the skills, Googling lauradoyle.org, becoming a coach. Any of these things, you have to keep coming back every day. And that's what I've been doing. I go back every day. And it works if you work it. So you won't see the skills working if you aren't working the skills.
That is true. I have the same. That is my experience also. My marriage is much shinier when I'm in these conversations with women like you, Faith, who have made it a priority to make their relationships great, as you have done, to fix their families, which I just think the world needs a lot more women like you. And that's why I'd like to give you my award. You get the Best Wife Award. Congratulations on this incredible accomplishment, right? 37 years sober is a big accomplishment. And so is fixing your marriage, setting that thermostat to the right temperature in your house to where everybody is thriving, like you have done and so eloquently shared with us about, which I'm just so grateful for. Thank you so much for this gift of and contribution to ending world divorce that you give.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be with you today.
Yay. Love it. Thank you.
If you're wondering how to get started with fixing your relationship and making it shiny again, then you need a roadmap. Get 6 simple steps to follow that will set your relationship up for success. Discover 3 common mistakes that wives make trying to fix their relationship that just make things worse when you download my free Adored Wife Roadmap. You can do that at getcherished.com. Go to getcherished.com now to get your roadmap in minutes.
Listen and subscribe to the Empowered Wife podcast. Next week's topic is in-laws versus outlaws. Only one is wanted. In the meantime, I hope you're having lots of fun. Today's fun fact is that last night I dreamed I was drinking tea. This morning, I am drinking tea. Live your dreams, people.